Madame, Monsieur, bienvenue à Budapest, aéroport Ferencváros. Il est 16h passé de 30 minutes.
This morning I'm sat up at the Fisherman's Bastion that overlooks the city of Budapest, and as I promised, it is a beautiful morning this morning. So there's been a nice bit of cloud that's been sweeping across the city. Not a lot of cloud. There was a lot last night when I was doing a time lapse from the castle. But this morning there's a lot of cloud that's cleared away, so it should actually look quite nice. It's looking nice and colourful over there at the moment with the Parliament building down there. So I'm doing a night to day time lapse, and I've done a panorama of the city as well. And it seems to be quite a popular area in the morning as well, because there's probably about half a dozen photographers up at this particular spot. As I said, it's called the Fisherman's Bastion. It overlooks the city of Budapest, and it is absolutely beautiful. This is one of those typical shots that's looking down the Fisherman's Bastion. So you've got this almost like a battlement that there's a church to my left, and then down there you've got some stairs. But it's almost like a battlement. But what's really nice is the stairs that go down, really a nice leading line. And the problem I've got behind me trying to compose is there's a lamp which I don't really want in my image, so I'm having to get very low down and use my tilt shift, the 24mm tilt shift, to actually get this some kind of leading line with the stairs down to the turret that's behind me there. So the Fisherman's Bastion. What I would suggest, if you're going to Budapest, really come up here in the morning. There's not a lot of people. By the time it gets to midday, this place is going to be heaving with tourists. This is the view from up on the battlements, as it were, of the Fisherman's Bastion. Now up here you have a fantastic panorama across the whole of Budapest. So over this way you have the Parliament building, over there is the castle, which is a little bit hidden. There's the river, the Danube down there as well. So in the morning, if you wanted to come up, if you wanted to come to Budapest and you wanted to do an amazing panorama of the city, this is probably one of the best places to come up here. Now behind me is the church of, I think it's called San Matthias. So at the moment, again, in the morning, there's hardly anybody here, which is really nice. But also at the moment this morning, what's really nice is the very nice blue sky behind me. There's a little bit of cloud behind the church, which is quite nice. So I've got my tilt shift on and I'm getting a picture. It's just about wide enough to get what I want. So I've got my polarizer on, and I'm certainly doing a lot better than I did 3 weeks ago here in Budapest. So this is the weather that they are saying it's going to be from today, Wednesday, the 18th of April, until Friday, which is great, because it means that basically my last trip was, in effect, a recce trip. So I'm here and I'm going to get as much done as I can. And speaking of getting things done, I think breakfast is beckoning right now. But I'll just show you that panorama from up here on the battlements. My first day back in the capital of Hungary, being Budapest, has been quite hectic today. The very reason behind that is I'm trying to catch up with all of the things that I did a few weeks ago when I was here, and because there was a lot of grey weather for most of the time that I was here, I've been trying to redo a lot of what I did back then. So trying to vlog and trying to actually do the physical work is just, for me, a non-starter, which is why you're not really seeing a lot from this particular day in Budapest. Will that change over the coming days? Again, I don't know, because I had so many things planned for the last time that I was here and didn't get them done because of the weather, that I'm now having to do and play catch up. So I can certainly show you some of the end results that I'm doing here in Budapest, but you may not get to see some of the setting up and those kind of things that I'm doing. Certainly in the mornings it's a lot easier, because when I'm out first thing in the morning, there's hardly anybody up at certain viewpoints around 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. Most people are still in bed, and even until around 8 o'clock or so, it's still quite quiet. So that's certainly possible, the morning side of things. The evening, less so. So for example, this evening, I'll be going up to the Fisherman's Bastion again, where I was this morning. But I know that as soon as I go up there, I'm going to be trying to work 2 cameras, One is going to be doing a day to night time lapse, and the other one is going to be doing stills when I get an opportunity. And the other thing that I know from the last time that I was here, that because it's such a popular and touristic place, is there's going to be a number of people seeing what it is that I'm doing and going, oh, do you mind just taking our picture? So trying to vlog, trying to take people's pictures, trying to do work is just never going to work all at the same time. So something has to give, and it does have to be the vlog, for the very simple reason that, as I've said many times before, at the end of the day, my work always has to come first before any vlog. And so that's why you're not always seeing the ins and outs of what it is that I'm doing. It's not that I don't want to show you, it's just at times I don't physically have the time. And also because of the amount of gear that I carry, I just have to be very, very cautious as to what it is that I'm doing and keeping an eye on what it is that I'm doing. So that's what's been happening on the first day. Certainly a few viewpoints revisited. I got access to a viewpoint over the Danube around midday or so. Not the best light, very harsh kind of midday light, but with the cloudscape that was there, I had to take the opportunity when they said yes and just go up and do what it is that I could. And again, if you walk into where I did with full vlogging gear and microphone and whatever, the first thing they're going to do is think, who in the heck is that? So you can't do that kind of thing. You have to be as professional as possible. So, and then even then, when I did get the access that I did, I was accompanied, and so again, it just makes it difficult to actually do all the vlogging process. But there you go, that's the first day. So I'll show you some highlights at the end of me whittering on about my first day, and then we'll move on to day 2 of Budapest. Good morning and welcome to the castle that overlooks Budapest. As you will have known, that when I was last here a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now, the last time I was up here it was quite hazy in the morning, but this morning you should be able to see behind me there's a beautiful amount of colour on the horizon there. They did predict some cloud this morning around dawn, but as it's dawn in about 20 minutes there is no sign of cloud anywhere. But behind me you might be able to see why it is that I find it at times difficult to vlog, trying to do 2 things at once. So there's one camera doing a night to day time lapse and another one doing a night to day time lapse, trying to get everything set up, trying to manage all the exposure settings, etc., while trying to vlog is kind of difficult really when you're on your own. So, but in any case, I'll give you an idea of what it is that I'm doing when I set up to do a night to day time lapse, and I am going to do a proper Holy Grail time-lapse tutorial at one point, as well as the post-production of those particular time-lapses. So I'll just show you what it is that I'm up to. When it comes time to doing these night-to-day time-lapse sequences, there's always some guesswork involved. The guesswork comes from the graduated filters. Do I or don't I need them? Now I do know from the last time I was here that when I did the Fisherman's Bastion, doing a day-to-night time-lapse I should say, that I didn't need a grad because sunrise was over that way and I was looking that way. What I knew that I did need when I redid it last night, the day to night time lapse, was a lens hood, because there's some lights that come on and light up the Fisherman's Bastion, and I know from the last time lapse I could see where the lights actually came on. Now with the grads this morning, what I've done is I've got on my 6D a hard grad, because I'm doing quite a wide angle. I've got my tilt shift lens on there with the extender, and then on the other camera, a 5D Mark II, I've got a soft grad because it's really zoomed in down to the Parliament building there, so I've got a soft grad because of the dome. It's some guesswork, it comes from experience as well, just doing these day to night and night to day time lapses, what I may or may not need. So that's the graduated filter side of things. When it comes to, for example, the ND side, do I use ND filters? I do, but not when I'm doing these Holy Grail sequences, because it's easier doing night to day, but when you're doing day to night, I just don't use them at all, because I know roughly the shutter speed that I'm going to be using. But I'm going to do a proper tutorial anyway on these, and I'll give you a bit more information, as I just need to keep an eye on what it is that I'm doing, and I don't want them overexposing. This is the current setup that I've got right now when I'm doing my night to day time lapse. So left hand camera is my 5D Mark II, and the other one is my 6D. Now attached to the 6D is a promote control, which is helping me to change the exposure off camera without having to touch the camera. Unfortunately on the 5D Mark II I'm having to touch the camera every so often, as basically I've only just got my intervalometer there which is doing the exposures. What I'm going to have to do when it comes round to post-processing this, I'm going to have to manually stabilise the one in the 5D Mark II, but it should be okay. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of some of the frustrations that you get when you're doing these things. So I know, for example, this one here I'm going to have to stabilise, this one here no, but you can see there this is the promote control. So if I just come up, this nice little box here, this is basically controlling the 6D. Now you can do bulb ramping, and I've never really got into doing the bulb ramping on the promote control, but it's something I need to look at. I do have the kit to do it, but there you go, that's my night to day time lapse at the moment. What else is coming up today? Not sure yet. There's a few things that I wanted to do last time, but we shall see. As mentioned, I am going to do a proper tutorial on day to night and night to day time lapse. I need to find the time to do it and also find a location where I'm not having to juggle two cameras at the same time, but hopefully you've now seen why and how hard it is just to keep an eye on things all the time when you've got two cameras and you're trying to do two different things at once. And then another third thing added into the mix, which is vlogging. So it's not as easy as it looks trying to do all of this at the same time when you're on your own. And also at times, for example, like last night when I was up at the Fisherman's Bastion, I'm trying to do a day to night time lapse. I've got people asking me to take their photos, talking to me, which is good because I don't mind people talking to me when I'm doing these things, because here I'm on my own and it's not so bad because I'm doing the vlog, so it keeps my mind occupied. But doing the day to night, sometimes it can be quite boring if there's nobody talking to you at all, and you don't have the opportunity to vlog. You've got an hour and a half, an hour and 3/4 or so to waste, as it were, and it can be quite tedious. So you just end up looking at your phone, looking at the internet. That might give you an idea of the job side of things rather than just the fun side of things, and people thinking, I'd love to do this as a job. It's not always evident what it is that a professional photographer is actually up to during his or her day. Behind me you can see the famous chain bridge that crosses over the river Danube here in Budapest, and it's one of those classic shots, and I've never done it before, and I know there's many images of this on postcards and in books and whatever, but I want my version of it. So I've put my tilt shift lens on with the extender to get in just that little bit closer, because 24mm is too wide. So I've got something I'm really happy with, and I'll run you through how I actually compose the image. Although it's classic and easy shot, I know some of you people like to know how it is that we've done these things, so I'll just run you through what it is that I've done. This is my setup right now, so it's Canon 6D with the 24mm tilt shift lens on there, the Mark II, plus there's a 1.4 extender. What I like to do with this kind of situation is think, what lens am I going to use? And because of all the uprights, for me it's tilt shift straight away. I want to get in there, make sure everything's bowled upright. You probably can't really see on the back of my screen, but what I like to do is use live view, so that when I'm looking at a scene I want to think, where's all the distractions? So when I'm looking at live view, it's 100% view of the scene in front of me, because the viewfinder is probably about 98%. So over, for example, here on the very edge is, I'm not sure if you can see with the camera, if I just have to press a button quickly, but up, if I can find it, around about there or so, there's two buildings separated with a bit of blue sky. I've made it so the composition comes down between the two of them, and I'm trying to knock out whatever it is on the roof of the building that's down here. And that's how tightly I'm trying to compose things, and then try and remove any other distracting features that may be in the scene. I don't need any grads because the sun is off that way at the moment, off to my left shoulder, but I have put a polarizer on there because it's 90 degrees to the sun, and I've put an ND filter on. There's 2-stop ND, just because I want to smooth the water out just that little bit extra. So at the moment the camera is on it's on f11, around half a second on ISO 100, and that's giving me a little bit of smoothness in the water. I don't want too much, I don't want it to look fake, but that's the shot that I've got, this classic scene here of the chain bridge, and then in the back there is the castle where I stood this morning. Something some people may be wondering is, why don't I time-lapse, for example, the bridge behind me? Well, the reason is because I'm too low. I'm essentially near the level of the river, whereas the traffic is up on the bridge, and so I can't really see the traffic from down here. But you can see traffic on the other side of the river, but it's just too far away to make any visual interest, to have actually any visual interest, as it were. There's no cloud in the sky at all. It's a very clear day this morning. There was supposed to be some cloud this morning, but there's none there, which is it's frustrating, but it's not frustrating me like the last time I was here. But that might give you a bit of a clue as to why it is I'm not doing those type of time lapses in a city. If I'm going to do a time lapse, it has to be for a good reason. It has to be visually interesting, like it was this morning for me, whereby you've got the night going into the day. So I was there for a good hour and a half, and you can see the colours changing. So always look for good visual interest before you time lapse anything at all, and especially in a city. So this will have a tiny insight into how I'm working within cities and cityscapes. You know, it's been a beautiful morning this morning. It still is beautiful this morning, and I've been busy here for the last hour or so capturing a night-to-day time lapse from, I believe this is called Elliott Hill, which overlooks the city of Budapest. It's probably one of the most stunning views of the cities that you can get, and it's just absolutely stunning this morning. It's gone from really nice red in the sky to that now nice, just sort of really blue. It's polarizing really nice. I'm doing some panoramas as well from up here. It just begs for a panorama really up here. It's just absolutely beautiful. So I was a bit wary, to be honest, coming up here this morning, just for the very simple reason I had to walk through a park which wasn't very well lit, and with the amount of things that I carry around with me, I'm always just that little bit cautious. It was fine though, and there was no one around, which was really nice. So it took me about half an hour or so from where I'm staying to actually get up here and huff and puff up the hill, because it was a bit of a trek up this morning. But this is Elliott Hill, the view over Budapest. Stunning, no other word for it. It's about, what's the time? At Bastion, according to the cathedral clock. And I've come up onto a roof space that I've been given access to because there's a bit of a panorama of the city of Pest, which is looking over to Buda on the hill there. So I've been tasked to see if I could get something from this particular roof. I'm having to use a long lens to actually pick things out, and there are obvious side effects of having such a huge lens that I'm using. I'm using a Canon 100 to 400 millimeter Mark II lens, which is a really heavy lens on my tripod. So one of the problems is dealing with camera shake, because even though it's on a tripod, for example where I am, the wooden floor, it kind of moves a little bit. So I've got my cable release on, I'm sat down and I'm just not moving at all, just trying to get this shot that it is that I really wanted to be able to get. So I'm going to spin the camera around and give you an idea of the panoramic view here in Budapest. It's my last morning in Budapest, and I've got a plane to catch in about 3 hours or so. So I thought I'd come and do one last night to day time lapse. And I think it might actually not work at all. It may just about, but I'm not sure. The problem is I'm stood on a bridge, and no matter where I go, this bridge moves. There's lots and lots of joints on the bridge. So if a tram goes over and a bus at the same time, the whole camera just shakes. So I can see about 2 or 3 frames just going to be shaking all over the place. I don't really want that. So I'm trying to improvise and see what it is that I can do with it. It might have a time lapse that's going to end up just not the slowest I'm just keeping my eyes out for a tram, which is going the other way, which is good. So basically I've got the Parliament building behind me. I'd spotted this the other day, so I thought the view looked quite nice, and I thought I'd like to do it on my last day as it's quite close to where I'm staying. But as I said, the problem I've got is the bridge, so I'll just show you around my environment and show you why it's just such a problem. This is the view that I'm doing right now of my time lapse, although I'm doing more the Parliament building there, that's what I'm focused on. The problem is if I go down there, I know I'll have no worries with any vibrations. The problem is I don't want the Parliament building straight on. So if I just spin the camera around, you'll see the bridge that I'm on, and then if I come back just around here, and just there is one of the joints. So what I had to be careful of is when a tram comes along, as it is there, as soon as it goes over that joint on the bridge, I'll just show you on the back of my camera, you might be able to see that it's just moving and moving and moving as the vibrations, and when a bus goes over at the same time as a tram, it is an absolute nightmare. So that's some of the problems I'm having with this particular time lapse. So what can I do to circumvent some of the problems that I have with this particular time lapse? The only thing that I can really do is turn off the intervalometer when a bus or tram does come along. It's not something that I want to do, but I don't have much choice in the matter because there's nowhere else that I can do this particular viewpoint from, because down there over my shoulder there's some boats that are in the way really. I need to be up at a bit of a higher level to be able to get what it is that I want, and that's not going to happen this morning. So, you know, what can I do? Not a lot. What I'm trying to do with the exposure on the cameras, I'm trying to get it down as quick as I can, so that when, for example, I think there's a tram coming in a minute, when that tram goes over, at least if the shutter speed is quite quick, it might not be as bad as if it was, say, 2 seconds exposure and it's just bumping up and down like this all the time. So, you know, that's one of the things I'm having to deal with. The other thing that I'm having to deal with is, I think the sunrise is going to be roughly sort of at an angle to the Parliament building behind me. So I'm having to really guess my grad this morning. I think it's a 0.9, which should hold everything back and should give me what I want, but we shall see. I don't think this is going to be the greatest time lapse. What can I do? Not a lot. That's it for my second visit to Budapest. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've got more of an insight again as to some of the trials and tribulations that I get up to when I'm travelling, and what I have to try and sort of some of the problems I've got to solve when I'm trying to do things like my time lapse at the moment. Yesterday I didn't do much vlogging after the viewpoint that I was given. There was a few things that I did do, but I was trying to organise them because they were very last minute and wasn't the easiest things to organise, but they were done, they were dusted, and I'm very happy with what I got in the end. So until the next time, thanks so much to all my subscribers, thanks to all the old subscribers and the ones that have just come on board as well, and thanks again if you're just new to this channel and coming along and liking what it is that I'm doing. What's coming up next? Not sure yet. What's the next vlog? Certainly after that it might be a bit of Florence and a bit of Tuscany.